Welcome to the Theory of DFS podcast. I'm Jordan Cooper, the co-author of the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports 15-hour audio DFS masterclass you can pick up at theoryofdfs.com. With the Major League Baseball season approaching in about 2 weeks or so, figured bring on the purveyor of what I believe is the best baseball projection system for both daily fantasy and I guess season long as well. It's Derek Carty with the bat. So Derek, are you ramped up for this season? Because I've questions for you because we do have some rule changes and I don't know how much do you value spring training data?
Almost none. I know everyone's like freaking out about the spring training data, like, oh, look at what's happening this year compared to last year. And some of those trends might wind up being real, but like the spring training data is just so meaningless, especially in a year where we have the World Baseball Classic going on. Like it's not even like we have the normal, like weird low level of competition going on in spring training. Like it's completely like weird beyond normal spring training levels because so many players are not even there. So it's don't try to read too much into spring training.
Is the spring training is spring training data like kind of meaningless because it's small sample, or because it's just not even relatable to what they'd face in the regular season regardless?
Both. I mean, obviously the sample is small, but also the level of competition is so different. Some guys are facing real major leaguers, some guys are facing, rookie ball guys. And then also there's the difference between the two leagues, like the league in Arizona, is going to have higher elevation, basically more hitter friendly conditions than the league in Florida might have. And then there's also just like even if we know when we isolate the level of competition, like, okay, this guy faced Max Scherzer and he faced this double A guy and he faced this guy and this guy and this guy. Even if we know all that, these guys still aren't like 100%. A lot of these guys come into spring training, they're still ramping up. They're working on new pitches. They're like, it's just not, everyone's not even trying. Like there's just so many unknown variables that like, just don't try to do anything with it. Unless the only thing that really matters probably is like trying to figure out guys' roles, but that doesn't really matter for DFS. It matters for season long players. Like, okay, maybe this guy, the manager likes, and he's going to bat higher in the order more often, or he's going to play more, or this guy's got the leg up on the fifth starter competition, or like whatever. But in terms of like trying to figure out skills, like just forget it.
How about the metrics that are normalized quicker? Like in spring training, if you see a pitcher is throwing 3 miles an hour slower than what they would normally throw, is that something that's reliable also? Because like you said, they may be working stuff out. They may not really even be throwing that hard, I guess, or their pitch mix. They're like, I'm going to work on my curveball, so I'm going to just throw a ton of curveballs, or I'm going to work on my off-speed pitch. Is even the stuff like that where this guy's velocity is up 2 miles an hour since last year, or this guy's velocity is -2 in the other direction. Is it something that you could, for the veteran pitchers, the ones that have previous spring trainings, is there a viability of, well, in the past 6 spring trainings, like he's thrown his average velocity, he's been one mile an hour below during spring training than regular season, but in this one he's 4 miles an hour below, so we have to be concerned about it. Is there any validity to this?
Yeah, so that's actually something that I'd like to study. I haven't yet, but that's kind of the one thing where there might be something to that. I'm more willing to buy into the guys that have increased their velocity, because if the velocity is low, like it really could just be, he's just working up. He's not there yet. The velocity will get there. He's just, he's not trying hard enough yet, whatever. But if the velocity is higher out of the gate in spring training, then that could be an indication that his velocity is going to be higher this year. Of course, we have to consider that spring training guns may be hot. Some parks may be measuring different than others. I certainly wouldn't buy into any like pitch mix changes. Like, oh man, his curveball usage is so much higher in spring training. Like he might just be working on it. But velocity, other kind of really stable pitch characteristics, especially if we're seeing improvement relative to decline, I think you can probably buy into that a little bit.
Okay, here's a question that I ask you pretty much every season because you come on to tell me about what edges we could find possibly, especially in the beginning of the season. Are there any ballpark changes or the way they're constructed or the wind dynamics or anything? Because we saw last year with the Orioles,
Yep.
like that became a much more pitcher friendly park, and the numbers reflect the markets didn't necessarily reflect that as much, and the DFS projections didn't around the industry may not have. Yours did. Are there any new? I haven't heard. I mean, dude, I don't even start looking at baseball until like now. So like I'm not even sure what players are on what teams yet until probably the day before the first slate of the season. Are there any changes in ballparks that we should be getting on board early in the season when the field thinks that, oh, this is a pitcher's park, but no, actually it's a little bit more hitter friendly, or it's a hitter's park, but it's actually more people think it's a hitter's park, but it's not anymore.
Yeah, so there's three parks that changed their fences this year. The Rogers Center moved their fences in and up. Comerica moved center field in a little bit and moved some of their walls down a little bit. And City Field made a very small change where they just moved a little portion of right field in a little bit. So all of them basically are going to help these parks play a little bit more hitter friendly, but we shouldn't expect anything near the magnitude of what we saw with Baltimore last year. Like Baltimore moved their fence back like 30 feet and doubled the height of it. Like it was insane for like a third of the ballpark.
Well, I mean, they had a good reason. Their pitching staff's awful.
Yeah. So, I mean, last year we should have expected a big change with Baltimore. It was the second largest fence move back in Major League history. The only other park that has moved their fence back further was like Fenway Park in the 50s. It was like a big deal. Like we really never seen anything like it, especially in the modern era. The changes that we've seen this year are pretty average changes that we've seen over the last 20 or 30 years. If we look at other parks that have moved their fences, these kind of fall right in line with like the middle ground of like, it's going to matter. It's not going to be massive. I know I've heard some people getting excited about the Rogers Center. Oh man, they moved in the right center field alley so much. Like this is going to be like this massive, it's going to be such a good hitter's park now. Yeah, if you hit the ball there, it's probably going to be helped, but it's really just a small part of the park. And a lot of the impact that we're going to see from the fences moving in is going to be offset by the fences getting higher, basically around the whole park. So it's going to matter.
Does that mean maybe home runs may not be affected, but maybe more doubles?
Yeah, it could be. I think we'll probably see a very small boost in home runs, maybe a little bit of a boost in doubles. Comerica is the one that I think will have the most impact because their fence is moving down and the fences are moving in. So they're both kind of working in the direction of the hitter. It's not anything massive. Center field's moving in, I think 12 feet. Some of the fences are moving down anywhere from like 1.5 feet to like 6 or 7 feet. So it's going to help. But if we're going to compare it to like Baltimore, which is what everyone probably will compare it to because that was what we saw last year, we're looking at a magnitude maybe like 1/5 of the impact of Baltimore from any of these parks.
So it probably won't be that noticeable.
It won't be that noticeable, but it is another reason to use a good projection. Obviously, I'm biased, but like a projection will see these things. It will incorporate it, even though it might be kind of harder for someone to like eyeball. But it's one of many edges that are going to accumulate, and a good projection is going to capture it.
Is there anything related to like wind or humidity, humidors? Anything that's non-ballpark related that they put up a screen here so the wind doesn't affect something as much? Because I know they did that down in Texas last year, and obviously you have the San Francisco situation where Roth is always the wind's blowing out at 20 miles an hour, but doesn't matter because the ballpark.
Yeah, and then in the COVID year, they changed the screen in San Francisco so it played hitter friendly for a year because it changed the wind patterns. And like, I don't think we have anything like that going on this year. I mean, there can certainly be things that we don't know about yet that just hasn't really been publicized. But as of right now, I'm not aware of anything like that.
Okay, now getting into not the ballpark changes, but the actual rule changes. I think there's 3 big ones, if you want to call it that. And I mean, like you said, I don't know how you go by the spring training data, but I mean, it's something to go by. I think the number one thing that we see is the pitch clock. So the pitcher's having to pitch 15 seconds afterwards. Would you have you seen, or would you theorize, or how would you go about? Uh, how would that positively or negatively, globally? Like, really, the two questions are: does this help the hitters or pitchers on average globally? And then on the outlier scenarios, I think of Sonny Gray, who takes forever to pitch. Like, is that going to negatively impact pitchers that normally take a long time to pitch, or and not really affect those that typically pitch quickly anyway? So, what have you seen from this pitch clock dynamic on how it would affect the projections of pitchers and hitters?
Yeah, so even though the spring training data is noisy, the good news is that Major League Baseball gave us some really good data because they didn't just say, all right, we're just going to do a pitch clock. They tested it out in the minor leagues. They tested these rules out in the minors so we can see, okay, what was the impact from one year to the next in the minor leagues? And what we saw is that if we're just talking about like offensive stuff, hitter pitcher stuff, strikeouts went down a little bit. Not a lot, but strikeouts went down a little bit. So I think we could say on average, maybe this helps the hitter just a little bit. I don't think it's going to be anything massive, especially because, I mean, we were dealing with minor leaguers, which are obviously not as advanced as major leaguers, not as good, maybe not as able to adapt as quickly. And the minor leaguers weren't given a lot of notice before the change was made. The major leaguers this year, they had all offseason to prepare for this, and they're major leaguers. They're the best in the world at this. They're going to be able to adjust, I think, for the most part. We'll see the occasional, infraction of this, but ultimately, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal in terms of, what we see at the plate. I think the guys at the extremes, like you're saying, again, probably not that big of a deal because they had all offseason to prepare for it. They're the best at this. They're used to adjusting for things their whole careers. And the guys that are really, really slow are generally relievers, guys like Kenley Jansen, Devin Williams. So for DFS purposes, they don't really matter that much. I think starters, for the most part, are going to be fine.
So there's no thought in I'm thinking through from a more logical perspective that veteran these are my theories that maybe veteran pitchers are more like I could see if a pitcher is not used to pitching that fast, I would think in terms of it defaults more towards the pitcher than the catcher because the catcher will call pitches. But at the end of the day, if Max Scherzer just says, I want to throw 3 fastballs, he's just going to throw 3 fastballs. So, is this something to even consider testing that the age or experience of the pitcher as a variable on how much the pitch clock affects their performance? Because it may not have as much of the capacity of, the catcher guiding them through. Okay, we're going down and away here. We're doing a slider there. That he kind of has to I got to make the best decision I can, and I'm just gonna nod my head and throw the ball.
Yeah, if you want to get into the weeds with this, you can build a lot of different narratives as to what can happen. We might see something like that. We might see guys that Yu Darvish, who has 8 different pitches to throw. He's not going to be able to shake the catcher off on 6 of them to get to the one pitch he wants. There's not time for that. So those type of guys, maybe you see something with. The veteran guys, you might actually see the opposite happen. The big story out of spring training this year feels like it's been Max Scherzer is trying to use the pitch clock to his advantage, using it strategically to throw off the hitter's timing. So you might see that with some of the veteran pitchers, but then some of them might not even care. So it's just, you'll probably see some stuff on the individual level that'll be tough to figure out just because of noise. But I do think there is that kind of thing going on with it.
Next rule change is the defensive shift.
Hold on. We don't want to. No, there is actually one big impact of the pitch clock that we didn't touch on.
Oh, we didn't? Okay, let me know. Oh, I want to know. I was going to move on to the defensive shift stuff. So let me know what's the biggest impact.
Stolen bases.
Oh, well, I was gonna get to that. That's part of the third one. We'll come
Okay.
around to that because that's related to another one.
Okay.
Uh, so second one is the defensive shift stuff.
Yeah.
So now they can't have the third baseman playing as a second baseman in the outfield, stuff like that. From a DFS perspective, I mean, I would theorize that obviously BABIP should go up, which means that it's more likely that outs turn into singles, and more likely that there may be more people on base when someone hits a home run. I mean, you have to say that this is going to positively affect the offense, but where will it affect the offense more positively or negatively? Because I don't see like it affecting a guy like the Joey Gallo types that are like Cody Bellinger types, like they're swinging for the fences or hitting a strikeout no matter what. And sure, when they do make contact, there'll be one less fielder there to shore up the gaps. But they don't hit the ball. They don't hit the ball in those spots that frequently to begin with. So what have you seen from defensive shift? Because essentially, aren't we kind of going back to like, oh, we have tons of data on this? It was like when no one did defensive shifts, which is like 110 years worth of baseball.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's hard to compare baseball in 1995 to baseball today. But we do have data on this that we can study because, Major League Baseball, with their StatCast data and everything, they label every single pitch with what the defensive alignment was, at least in rough strokes. So we can see, okay, this is what happened when Joey Gallo had a shift applied on him, and this is what he did. And then this is what he did when he didn't have a shift applied on him. And so we can do that basically for every player, and we can look at the difference in how they performed with the shift and without the shift. Now, it's maybe not a complete apples to apples comparison because maybe there are different things, the shifts aren't being applied at random. Like there might be a reason that it was applied in this instance, but not in this one. So there are caveats, but at least it is some data that we can work with. And we have several years of it, which is really nice at the major league level. So what we can do is we can make that comparison. And before we get into that, first we should say the shift is not going away. The shift is being
managed.
They're applying rules to how you can shift. You can't have three infielders on the right side of second base, but you can move your shortstop right up to second base as close as you can get, and you can move the third baseman over to the where the shortstop would normally shift. And if you want to get weird, and I'm sure we're going to see teams do it, we'll probably see, the left fielder move to where the shortstop might have normally stood on the outfield grass, up in front of the center fielder and the right fielder. Like the teams are going to find ways to do this. So it's not fair to say, okay, there's no shift. But Major League Baseball also helps us because they give us a category. It's not just shift versus no shift. They have a category called strategic shift, which is basically the kind of shifts that we'll probably see this year, which are like partial shifts. So we can compare, okay, what do players do with a full shift versus a partial shift, and what does that impact? And so that's basically what I've done this offseason. I've looked at this on the league level. I've looked, if certain types of players are impacted more than others, obviously lefties versus righties. And we find a few things. So first, I'm not of the belief that this is going to be something that massively boosts offense. I think it'll probably boost it a little bit, but when everyone thinks of the shift, they think about it in terms of BABIP or, base hits, but not everything happens in a vacuum. When a shift is applied, pitchers are going to pitch differently than they would without a shift. Batters are going to approach it differently than without a shift. So when you actually look at the data, some of the stuff we see that's really interesting is that when a shift is applied, there's actually a walk penalty because pitchers pitch differently. They tend to nibble a little bit more. And so batters walk more when a shift is applied. So if there's not going to be any shifts this year or lesser shifts, batters aren't going to walk as much. There's also a strikeout impact. With the shift applied, I'm trying to think which way it goes. Strikeouts, I would expect strikeouts to go
down,
up a little bit without the shift now. So I think some of the impact that we see in terms of base hits, may be offset by some of the things on like the plate discipline level. And then also when you look at, okay, this is what happens with base hits, some guys are going to see bigger impacts. You'll see some guys with their BABIPs, jumping by, I think at the extremes, I would expect a BABIP to jump by like 20 or 30 points maybe. But on the league level, I think we're only going to see, it really looks like, again, there's a lot we don't know, but based on the data, and I'm not the only one that's found this, there have been some other studies too, we might only see a few points, 2, 3, 4 points of BABIP on the league level increase. So really not a big deal for everybody. And then there's also with the shift, it feels like teams were being too aggressive with the shift, especially in terms of right-handed batters potentially. And so by not shifting on right-handed batters that much, they might actually improve a little bit they might get worse a little bit because they were actually benefiting from the shift in the first place in terms of the walks and the strikeouts and stuff like that. So it's not as simple and straightforward as everyone thinks, just figure out if it would have been a hit with fielders standing in a different spot. Like there's a lot to it. And the bat is going to be accounting for it all, which is really nice. But ultimately, I don't think the impact is going to be like massive.
But the third rule change, I think, is going to be the most massive.
I agree.
And that's the bases being larger. Okay, so we have larger bases, and the pitcher could only make 2 pickoff attempts.
Yep.
Okay, so combine that with the pitch clock. Like even if you take out the pitch clock, but the pitch clock will exacerbate this. You have to expect steals to go up.
Yes, you do. I think this is going to be the most impactful. I think the base sizes is kind of, I think, what a lot of people have focused on. I don't think the base sizes getting, an inch bigger or whatever is like that big of a deal. But I think you combine that with the pitch clock and the throw over rules, I think that's going to be a big deal. And again, like I said earlier, Major League Baseball was very nice to us. They gave us minor league data where we can compare from year to year after making adjustments what happened to stolen bases. And what we saw in the minors is that stolen bases went way up, which makes sense. Pitchers can't throw over as much. There's a penalty if you don't get them on the third try. They only have so many seconds.
Oh, is that a thing? I never even heard of that.
Yeah,
so,
how else
you could go for a third pickoff, but if you don't get him out, he gets second base.
Yep.
Okay, so which allow. Okay, so this cements something that I was going to ask you about like the metagame of like, do you think second throwovers are even going to exist? Because it makes it so that the third throwover is so unlikely that the runner is probably going to try to, if they have a signal to go, they're much more likely to go after being thrown over twice. That many pitchers will just simply throw over once, and then because the runner knows that he doesn't want to throw over twice, that he's going to be more likely to steal after the first throw over, and you get this like kind of cat and mouse type of game. But ultimately, in order to benefit from the throw-over rule and the bigger bases, it's not only up to the runner at first or second or wherever to steal. You have managers that, if we go back to like 20 years ago, like the Moneyball stuff, is it worth going for that out, right? Like steals were like not really looked at as the best analytical play. With these new rules, has it made it so that the smart move is more for steals? And will the managers reflect that, or will you have managers that are like, nope, we're still not stealing no matter what, or we're just going to steal much less. We're not going to have as many double steals. We've seen teams like the Astros or the Diamondbacks, like they attempt a lot more double steals than other teams, but that's a managerial decision. So how much benefit are these new rules going to be on that? And is there some way to account for the fact that certain managers tend to play baseball in a certain way? It could be even the stuff like bunting, sacrifice bunting, that type of stuff. I know you have 7 million variables in the bat, but is managerial tendencies it seems logical that it would affect that as well.
Yeah, so this is actually the hardest part of this because we know stolen bases are going to go up with a fairly high amount of certainty. The problem is figuring out which guys, because you're right. Like every manager is going to approach this differently. And we don't necessarily know ahead of time who's going to do what. We've seen reports, oh, the Braves want to run. But we don't know for sure who's going to do it. Managers are certainly being incentivized to steal more, even if they're smarter, sharper, sabermetric type managers. Because it's not like steals are inherently bad. It's just if you get caught too often, steals are bad. A lot of times the risk isn't worth the reward, but steals are going to be easier at this point. And because they're being incentivized to steal, that kind of break even threshold is going to get a little bit higher. And so teams are probably going to be, even the smarter teams, are going to be more aggressive, I would imagine. Which teams are going to go wild with it? I don't know, but someone will.
But globally, it will go. I mean, it will go up. It's just
Yeah.
that the distribution of where they go up is. I mean, we're kind of guessing at this point. And also, Cardi, from a pitcher standpoint, does is the ability to hold runners on, is that going to be decreased globally, or is it the type of thing, because we have the classic Noah Syndergaard, awful at holding runners on, but how about the pitchers that are good at holding runners on? Is it going to make them much easier to steal on? Yet Syndergaard, since he's already awful, it's not going to change that much. So, like, is there going to be a distributional change on how the pitchers keep runners on base? Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, is it
I
going to be
do.
like linear across the board, or do you think on some of these outlier cases that does it make it so that if Syndergaard's on the mound, it makes it like you must play these guys because they're going to be stealing like 700 bases now? Or is it going to be the thing that, yeah, he was easy to steal on before this, and it didn't really get dramatically harder or easier anyway, so like it doesn't affect it that much. But a guy that was really good at holding runners on, he's going to see a little bit more steal increase because the rules are in place to make it so he can't do what he normally does.
Yeah, so that's a really good question, and I don't have an answer to it right now. I'm gonna write that down because I want to look into it.
We need to know because all I know is when Syndergaard's on the mound, you go slam those steel props. Geez, they
Yeah,
got Cardi. They got to a point. They took them down. I mean, the books were
yeah,
literally taking them down. Like
yeah. There's actually
we're just not gonna offer these props anymore.
there's a video coming out later this week from a user of the bat who just like completely destroyed stolen base props last year. And I think it might have been in reaction to him on some of these books why they just stopped offering them entirely. So there's a video coming out in a couple of days. It's going to be, I'm excited to see it because he's talked to me so much about it. And obviously I experienced it last year too. Stolen base props were just like so massively mispriced, especially early in the year for some guys. There was so much value to be had. And I'm really excited for this year because I don't know if the books are going to be adjusting for this out of the gate. I think some books are going to kind of take like a wait and see approach. And so we might wind up with some really big stolen base value early in the year. So I'm really excited about that. In terms of like, are there going to be some pitchers impacted more than others? The answer is probably yes. Whether there's a way for us to know ahead of time, I'm not sure. But I can look at the minor leagues and I can say, okay, were the pitchers who were allowing a lot of steals to begin with, did they see a bigger or smaller relative boost to other guys? I did that with hitters. I looked at, okay, are the fast hitter or the fast guys, the guys who steal a lot to begin with, are they, because they're stealing so much already, are they like not stealing more? Are they stealing less? Is it the middle group that's going to go up? So I was able to look at that and that's incorporated. So I can do the same with pitchers and I can see if there are certain groups that are potentially more likely to be impacted than others.
Is there anything else heading into the season that I haven't mentioned? Because I mean, to me, those are the big ones. And obviously, I asked you about ballparks and wind or anything like that. Is there any other variables that have changed, either from certain teams, certain positions, certain way the game is played more than others? That is going to be dramatically enough difference that there may be an edge in noticing it quicker in 2023 versus previous seasons.
Well, I don't know about relative to previous seasons, but basically every season, the last few years at least, we don't know what the baseball is going to be like. We can calculate all these rule changes and everything else, but we still have no idea what the baseball itself is going to be.
Or what baseballs
Uh,
are going to be at which games.
I mean, last year they said they used 3 different baseballs. There were studies that came out that said that. So, like, we really have no idea. But one of the good things about the bat is that it does
No, it
adjust.
knows the baseballs. The bat knows the baseballs.
Oh yeah, you know this. The bat is designed to automatically detect when the league run environment, when the baseball changes, either right at the start of the year or if it changes mid-year. It's constantly looking at the most recent data, how quickly it stabilizes, which is pretty quick. We'll know after like 3 or 4 days, kind of what the new level is with the baseball, and yeah, so the bat does that, but we don't know ahead of time, but we'll know quickly, especially if it's just one baseball everywhere. Then it's much easier.
So, do you think with these changes, from a global standpoint, runs per game should go up?
I do. I don't know if it's going to be massive just from these rule changes alone. It could from the baseball, from other things.
But
Because
from a directional standpoint, that
directionally, I would guess up a little bit, yeah,
right.
but not by a lot. Especially because the biggest impact, like I said, is stolen bases. And stolen bases, ultimately, they're fun for fantasy. They're real fun for betting. Ultimately, they don't have a big impact on run scoring.
But it does in fantasy scoring.
It does in fantasy scoring for sure.
So my although in MLB we typically stack as it is, right? Because the correlation between batters is so high and strong. Uh, I would think that, and I mean I've said this in every year that I've given out DFS advice. I mean, it's in the course that the more offense that there is, the more the correlation matters. And the less offenses, this happens in every sports, like NFL, like in Showdown, a game that is 42-35, it's much more likely that, some quarterback and wide receiver combination is going to be highly correlated and score a ceiling result, 80 plus percentile together, than in a 13-6 game, right? You're going to see one of these weird lineups win because since overall fantasy scoring is down, that means the importance of correlation is, yeah, you're right. One guy scored 8 and the other guy scored 5. It's like, yeah, they're correlated, but one guy didn't score that much, so the other guy didn't score that much. So like, no one scored that much. So in baseball, I would feel that if there's more offense, even if it's not even runs per game, but there's more people on base available to get points, either by steals, by runs, right, RBIs, that it increases the importance of stacking in general in baseball.
Completely agree. And even if overall run scoring doesn't go up massively, if stolen bases go up a lot, that's still fantasy points. And there is going to be a correlation there because they're all facing the same pitcher. They might do double steals. Like, yeah, I would agree. Stacking becomes more important here.
Right. The best feeling in MLB DFS is when it's first and second, and they double steal, and then the batter hits a home run. Right? It's like, thank you for the 10 free points that I didn't even need, right? Because you got a double steal, and thank you, give it to me.
Yeah, that's always nice.
From a DFS perspective, because obviously the Bat X, technically it's right, the Bat X. Is the Bat X ever going to be the Bat now with the StatCast stuff has been there for 3 years? Can it just be the Bat?
That was the plan originally, but I think it would confuse people, so I think it's just going to be the Bat X forever.
But people, are you making it so people could use the old Bat system, or is it just one?
It's still there, yeah. If people want to use it, it's still there. They can use it.
Well, that begs the question. It's a question that I get all the time. Okay, I get via DMs, I get via emails, I get on the pregame show via YouTube chat. I'll share with you my answer, and then you could answer it yourself. Who has the best projections? Or what makes the Bat projections better than the Roto Grinders projections? I'm assuming you get this question. My first question is to this person is typically, do you have any projections? And if the answer is no, like all of them are good. Like you're going to play DFS better when you have a way of turning player names into numbers. So
Yeah.
you can do it yourself. You turn player names into numbers, right? Like you make your own model. Come up with the top of your head if you want, right? Like that's a model, right? People are like, oh, I think this guy's going to do well, 13 median, right? You
Yep.
can do that if you could do that for all the players in the pool and then build your lineups from that. But to me, the most important thing is having projections, right? Any model, any projections in the industry currently that are publicly available are better than having no projections, and or better than, truthfully, probably better than you trying to do it yourself with no experience whatsoever. And hell,
Yeah.
even the people with experience, you try to do it and then it's still not better, or you spent so long to do it and it's like, oh yeah, it's like a 0.001 R better than like what I could have gotten for X dollars. That's way too cheap, right?
Yeah.
Right? So like that, to me, that's the more important question. So if you want to go out and it's like, I want to pay for one of these publicly available projections. Personally, I suggest the bat, right? If you're going to use one, I use them all because I write it off as business, and I also want to see what other people are looking at. If you're going to go out and just like, okay, I'm going to buy the bat, and you're like, oh well, I'd rather spend less and get stochastic projections. I'd rather get, I use RotoWire projections or whatever it is in the industry, SaberSim, whatever the hell you want. Like you could beat DFS with any. I mean, go and do it if you're that price sensitive, or it integrates with whatever optimizer you use better or something. Like truthfully, any of that is better than zero. Like if you're gonna just choose one, I would choose the bat. But then people ask, well, what makes the bat different than the RotoGrinders projections or a SaberSim or anything? Because shouldn't they be incorporating the same things? And my response, right? You could clarify all this, or you could just agree with everything that I say. My response is that Derek Carty has 10 plus years experience with like hundreds more variables than sites that have to do projections for 14 different sports and have to have them generally good. So if you want to have that like extra edge in there, that's why I suggest the bat. But hey, any of them will do. You could still win at DFS with any of them.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. Like literally any projections are better than no projections. I do agree if you're on board with projections, and you should be.
If people are listening to this, they are, okay.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't get many emails anymore after 100 episodes of people are like, I tuned in and why didn't you give me the picks? I think they get to the point that that's not this type of show.
Right. Yeah, I'm biased, but I think the bat is the best. The best compliment I get from users of the bat is, can you make this more expensive? How many people in any walk of life go to a company and say, I want to pay more for your product? Like that's lunacy. But I get it from lots of users every year because they want fewer people using it, so they have a bigger edge using the product. Like
Carty, you get it from me on this show every year.
You do.
That's
every
typically
year,
what I typically try to convince you for 10 minutes on charging more money, saying that it's worth $1,000 a month. Like that's what it legitimately is worth. And I would pay $1,000 a month. And from a business aspect, you have to go, well, how many people drop off at that price point that it makes it feasible? That would you rather get 100 people giving you $1,000 a month, or 1,000 people giving you $100 a month? Like that's the same amount of money, but which one? Like where does that cost basis go down? Me personally, I think you make more money at 1,000. I'm charging more, but it's your business. It ain't my business. But at the end of the day, what I would say is the difference, and I think me and you talked about this a while ago. I think back in the Super Bowl party before COVID for RotoGrinders, is that what I noticed in comparison to other projection systems is that the environment variables are much more factored in than other systems. So ballpark factor, wind, right? If there's a Wrigley game with 23 miles an hour wind blowing out, the bat has a 12-inch erection for like the Cubs and whoever they're playing, right? Like
Yeah.
it works out that way. But what I don't think people realize in those scenarios, because you're used to the tilt of, oh, so I play the bat loved the Wrigley win game and it was 2-1, right? Because so many balls weren't hit in the air, right? Dude, there's tons of variance when it comes to baseball, but on any sport. What I think the bat is better at than other systems is expressing the variance rather than the median projection. So, like, when there's a Wrigley win game and all these means, right, because you use mean projection, go up by 2 points, well, the range of outcome, like, the floor has not really moved. The mean and the ceiling percentiles have moved up. But essentially what that's done is made a wider range of outcomes. So, like, the 20th, 30th, 40th percentile outcomes are still not good outcomes for you. They're 4-2 games type of thing.
Yeah.
It just expresses there's much more higher end 12-8 games in there. But from that mean perspective, people get hopped up on that mean and go, well, I gotta play 4 guys from this game in my cash lineup or anything. It's like, no, you're actually increasing your variance in your lineup. It may not be the best for cash games and maybe better for GPPs. So, like, I mean, we'll be talking about MLB projections next week on the DFS pregame show. But the number one thing that I tell people about projections in baseball is that you have to really understand the standard deviations of players when you start plugging in $2,700 Rougned Odor at second base every night, knowing that I know it's 7.5 mean for 2,700, but the dude never scores 7 points. Like, it's a mean. So you have to realize that. So I think with the ballpark and the environment factors and the weather and those types of things that you factor seems. But what you would say is, like, you're not overweighting it. You're properly weighting it. Everyone else is underweighting it. But
Exactly.
to me, the mean does go up, but I think people don't understand that also means the variance, the standard deviation for the players also goes up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the reason for that is just because I think my methodology is better. I've been doing this for a really long time. I do football projections now, which are really good. But for a long time, I was focused solely on baseball. Like you said, a lot of these sites are trying to build projections for 8 different sports. I was just building baseball projections, and I was doing it before DFS even existed. I was doing it, back in the day. I was working with, just in the sabermetric community, not even like fantasy baseball specifically, just learning from people who were super smart. A lot of them went on to work for major league teams, high up in major league organizations now. Like the bat is designed with methods and processes that are the same as major league teams are using to make their decisions, which I think is really cool. And I just think the methodology is stronger than everyone else. And I'm accounting for things I think that other people aren't accounting for, or if they are doing it, they're doing it in a very broad strokes kind of way. Whereas the bat has a specific projection for every single thing. It's not just like, well, here's a broad kind of weather adjustment. Like, no, like it looks historically what happens in weather games, and it has a projection. Okay, if it is 71 degrees, the projection is going to be different than if it is 72 degrees. And it's going to be small, but it has that level of granularity for everything. And then obviously you see it more when there's a game that's 90 and a game that's 50. But it is approaching everything on a very, very granular level. It's every umpire has his own individual projection where we're looking at historical data and how long he's been in the league for. And we're looking at how much variance there is in umpire statistics and how many years of umpire data matters. And like, we're doing that for everything. And so that's why I think the bat is so much better, because it accounts for so many things and those edges really pile up together. And it can create some unintuitive output sometimes until you dig in. You say, okay, well, there's this weather and there's this umpire and this catcher pitch framing, and this is the defensive alignment. And like, this guy has a really wide platoon split. And like, it just, until you really know what you're looking at, a lot of times it can actually look weird, but that gives us an edge because it looks weird because everyone else isn't looking at those same things.
Especially when it comes to, I mean, people have complimented you on this for years. Those cheap SP2s on DraftKings.
Oh yeah.
Like, to me, that's it's remarkable. It doesn't. Drew Smiley doesn't always work out, right? I mean, you're going to get high variance from these guys, but like so often you'll play MLB DFS for a week, and there'll be like two slates where it's like, why does this $6,800 pitcher that is projected to be 3% owned project like as the second highest raw point pitcher on the slate? Like one of those types of things where it's like, why aren't I playing 70% of this guy? And then it seems to you from any logic to not make that much sense. And then goes out and gets 22 fantasy points. Like it just like, oh, okay. And then you save a ton of money and you stack an expensive team, and next thing you know, you're winning a GPP. Like, is it for that specific things? Like, is there a reason for that other than because it's like one of those like very bat-like things? Because Rudek Odor, like the poster child of the hitters, that the bat has a high mean, even though it's a very large standard deviation. They typically project decently on any other like projection system. Maybe a half a point less, but it's still within some type of directional way of like, he's under. The DraftKings is constantly underpricing this guy, right? That's the reason why he's showing up as a value. But the pitchers, on the other hand, like, dude, if you use the bat and you're like, oh, this pitch, like, and you use that lineup HQ, you may get like, oh, this lineup I'm playing a 10% owned pitcher and a 4% owned pitcher, and the two 30% owned pitchers like don't even make any of your lineups, and it's like you go to any other projection system and it doesn't look like that at all. Right? Is there what's the reasoning behind that other than you must have so much more pitcher data that you're taking into account that other systems just aren't doing?
Yeah, I really think it comes down to the bat is really good at identifying matchups, and it's accounting for things.
Oh, like BVP?
No, not like BVP. It's accounting for the parts of matchups that matter in a way that I think other systems aren't. And it's not afraid to go out on a limb. Like, I wonder sometimes if other systems even like manually adjust guys down sometimes, or like whatever. But even you just talk about DFS players, like for a lot of DFS players, there are some pitchers that they will just never play. This guy is bad and I can never play him. Like Patrick Corbin is a bad pitcher. I don't care what the matchup is. I will never play Patrick Corbin. And there are people that do that. You know, you might be listening to this and you might be one of those people. The bet doesn't care. The bet knows that Patrick Corbin is bad. The bet doesn't even like Patrick Corbin, but it likes his matchup today. It likes his matchup today because he sets up well in terms of, his pitch mix and his platoon split against this lineup of hitters. And the opposing team's lineup is watered down today. Their two stars are sitting out, and he's in this ballpark with this umpire and this weather and this catcher and like whatever. And all of a sudden you add all that up, and now he's 5 points above, his normal mean, and he's cheap and underpriced. And it's like, well, how do I not play Patrick Corbin?
You find out sometimes in 2 innings why you don't. That's why I make it clear that it's high variance. Like a lot of the stuff that the bat incorporates, like over the course of 100, if this happened 100 times, you're going to stand out to profit and have a much bigger edge over 100 times, but intermixing that 100 times or 20 times where the thing blows up in your face.
Oh, yeah.
And there's 30 times where Patrick Corbin puts up 32 points at 2% ownership.
Yeah.
And there's not as many of those middle scenarios. So people end up in the situation where it's like, imagine, because I saw this last year where especially Patrick Corbin, where Patrick Corbin's pitching on Tuesday, right? And Patrick Corbin goes out and has his wonderful 2/3 of an inning, 5 walk, 7 earned run performances, right? And the bat projected him well for his $6,400 price tag. Sunday comes around, he's 5,800 in a game where the wind is blowing in a game where two of the righty power hitters are sitting on Sunday. Aaron Judge is out of the lineup for the Yankees, and Stanton's out of the lineup for the Yankees, and they're throwing out 5 lefties also for whatever reason. And Patrick Corbin's sitting there now cheaper at 5,600. and then he's 5% owned again, and he throws 8 innings, 10 strikeouts, gets 38 fantasy points, and then on the next start after that, the same person in the bat Discord is like, oh, Patrick Corbin can't play him. It's like, well, last start he did great. It's like, yeah, but I didn't play on Sunday, so they don't remember that. They remember the time before where he got blown up. So it's like,
Yeah.
if you played Patrick Corbin for 28 starts, you're probably ahead. But there are going to be times where you're way behind, and you can't have that bias of, well, anytime I play him, he sucks, or every time I don't play him, he goes off. Like, that's a horrible DFS mindset to have, but you see it all the time.
Oh, you do. And you can't play that way. You have to play consistently. You can't just try to chase or be afraid because of what happened recently or whatever. Like, and the bet is not gonna be like you need
The
to
bat
play
doesn't
Patrick
care.
Corbin.
The bat, dude. But Alek Manoah could go out and throw 16 strikeouts in his last start, and it'll still come up. It's the Alek Manoah against the Pirates, and he still projects poorly, right? Because it works in the other way also of people that are overperforming. The
Yeah.
bat picks up on that very quickly. Of like,
Yeah.
he's way above expectation. His BABIP is unreasonably low. His strikeout, his swinging strike rate is not sustainable, or he's not getting, or he has a strikeout rate with a very low swinging strike rate, and he just happens to be getting eighth hitters out with 3 men on base on a pitch that was slightly outside on a 3-2 count that the umpire called a strike, and he got out of that jam. Like, it feels like the bat picks up on that also.
Yeah, it's looking at all of this stuff, and it's objective. That's the point of a projection. It's objective. It doesn't care what you think about a guy. It cares about what he should do. And sometimes it's going to like that cheap guy, and he's going to go out there and he's going to get blown up and put up -10, and you're going to be like, I'll go in the bet Discord. Why did I play this guy? Like, I should have known he was just terrible. But like, that's part of the range of outcomes. Sometimes you're going to get that, and sometimes you're going to get a really good performance. Corbin, I think really liked maybe like 4 or 5 times last year. One of them was his best game. It was against Pittsburgh, if I remember right. I think he had like 8 innings, 1 run, like 12 strikeouts, and he just dominated. And he was cheap and low owned. And like, if you play Corbin 5 times because the bat likes him, and you get that one performance out of him, like, you should be easily coming out profitable on him.
And when he says likes, it's likes in relation to the salary.
Yeah.
Like when people joke around about Rougned Odor, if Rougned Odor was constantly priced at 4,200,
it would never like him.
Right. We would never even be talking about it. He'd be like, okay, he's there, like in Orioles stack or whatever team he plays for now. Where does he play now?
I forget where he signed this year. Hopefully we don't have to see much of him. But yeah, it is definitely in relation to the salary. Although I do think that Pittsburgh game for Corbin, he projected for like 19 DraftKings points. Like, it actually just liked him, like, even if he was expensive.
Another thing you could use the bat for, because you have statistical projections, is for props. And now I'm in Kentucky, so I can't legally bet on retail U.S. sports books. Doesn't mean I can't elsewhere. But I do Prize Picks and Underdog. And let me tell you, I made 5 figures using the bat on Prize Picks and Underdog last year. I have a sneaking suspicion that it's going to be much more difficult this season.
You think so?
I think the lines are going to be better. I think you're going to have to, I still think that my common workflow is 1 a.m. Eastern for Prize Picks, and then when I wake up in the morning for Underdog, because typically Underdog only posts like pitch count props and really basic, really not Ks, not nothing early. They'll have some hitter props that are exploitable also early, but most of those go up in the morning when Penny or 5 Dimes or like the regular sports books start putting up their props. Prize Picks typically puts them out before a lot of the sports books do, so they have nothing to copy from. I get the sneaking suspicion that Prize Picks is going to put up numbers that look very close to the bat.
Very close to the bat?
Yes.
We're going to have to talk about this off air maybe. But yeah, that would
Or what?
yeah.
Or and truthfully, if you were to wake up, if you were to try to bet on Prize Picks like normally last year at 1 in the afternoon, you would say the same thing, right? Because typically what ends up happening is at 1 a.m. This is basically the workflow that I would have for Prize Picks last year. 1 a.m. the board goes up around 1 a.m. something like that. The board goes up. I have two screens, right? I have the bat projections on one screen. I have Prize Picks on the other screen. And I just move my head back and forth and go, that K, okay, 6.8 Ks. What's the line? 5.5. Okay, over. Right. What's the line here? Oh, 5.2. What's the line here? 4.5. Not worth it on Prize Picks at least. And keep
Yeah.
on going. And then the ones that I see that are offer enough, I go, okay, I found three of them. I go, $100 these two, $100 these two, $100 those two, like two picks to smooth out the variance. And
Yep.
then, you know what happens 20 minutes later? 5.5 turns into 6, right? Right? It turned based on the action that's coming in. And then when you wake up in the morning, it's 6.5. And then you look and he's like, oh, the bat has it at 6.8, but the line's 6.5. It's like, oh, there's no value there. It's like, yeah, the value is there at 1 in the morning, right? You got to get it. I think the speed of that is going to be much quicker.
Interesting. Yeah, I can't play Prize Picks or Underdog in my state. I can play like normal sports books, but
Right.
I can't play those. So I don't have a lot of insight into it. But I know a lot of people last year, users said they did really well with it.
Right. Well, the difference between the regular sports books and Prize Picks is that like you could get small edges from anything. Like the forced parlays make it that you essentially need to get a minus 137 on
Yeah.
any prop in order for it to be break even or better. So like you can't be sitting there going, well, here's a minus one. Here's something that's priced at plus 100 that should be minus 120, and then bet
Yeah.
it. Right? Like you can't you wouldn't be able to do that because you have to. They pay out a fixed number for these parlays. So
Right.
most of the stuff on I say Prize Picks is horrible on 99+% of squares that they all like. Like if we went to Prize Picks right now and you randomly chose two things to parlay together, your hold is probably 10 or 15%. Like that's how
Yeah.
bad Prize Picks is. But you could find the diamonds in the rough that are off
Yep.
enough that you could start putting stuff together. But of course, they will start reacting to that. And I get the suspicion, and this is from what I've seen in NBA. The NBA props on Prize Picks have gotten significant. Like I don't even bother anymore.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
Like they've gotten significantly better. And I'm not talking about the ones where this guy's injured or questionable. Because a lot of times they may not even have those up. We don't know if Giannis is playing at all. So they just don't even have anything for the Bucks up at all until we know that information. Or it's out of the blue and they just unless you get something in like 30 seconds, they're going to take off all the Milwaukee props in a sec. Once you see that notification come in that Giannis is out, the Milwaukee stuff will just be completely off the board. And you got to wait 5 minutes and then they'll put new ones up that reflect that. But I'm talking about the props from early in the day, right? Like when they first put them up. I compared them to the RG projections, and I did that early in the season, October, November, December, and I could easily find 6 to 8 a day that are over minus 137, like that I could go around. Here's $50 two picks and just round robin the whole motherfucker, right? I could have $2,000-$3,000 in play with like a 5%, 10% edge. And it's
Right.
like, seems pretty good to me. I'll take it $200 a day in expected value every day. Give it to me. I mean, why not? Because I don't have to make lineups. I don't have to late swap. I'm done, right? I'm done. Like that's the great thing about props is that
Yep.
you wake up in the morning or you stay up late at night, you hit them early, and what's really there to do? Like you really don't have to do much. Like when people that are like, what props do you got? And it's like 10 minutes before game time. It's like there's nothing out. There's nothing about. It's an efficient
gone.
market by this point, right? So, but I get the feeling because in January, the prop like I would look and I'd be like, it's an 8-game, 10-game slate. And it's like I found two that were like barely plus EV. And it's
Uh-huh.
like what happened to fantasy point props where like the projection is like 43 and the prop is like 33 and a half. Like where's the rebounds? We have a rebound prop of like, we have a statistical projection of like 9.2 and the rebound prop is like 6.5 or 7 or something like that. And I'm like those, it felt like in January at least, like it barely, that, I mean, I started playing more poker even because I wasn't going to play NBA DFS anymore. But then, like, okay, I'll still do the props. And the props seem to even go away, at least on Prize Picks and Underdog.
Right.
Underdog tends to just copy the sportsbook lines anyway. So it's like there's not that much different because they're posting later as it is. But I just get the sense that if it goes the same route as NBA, because I saw that in NFL also. Right? You must have seen in NFL, like, the first 8 weeks of the NFL season was like, it's like going outside and seeing that you had a money tree outside. I mean, and then it just got to the point by the later weeks where it's like, yeah, there's like 5 things there's like 5 of them that are good enough. And then it's like, okay, you're 100, and then like, you make money. But I mean, early in the NFL with the blitz, week 2, week 3, I'm like, I'd find like 26 things to start round robin. I have like $20,000 in play with like a 5 to 10% edge, and be like, how come no one's doing this? And of course, all of that stuff would move in my favor, right? You'd see it's like I have 27 things and 22 things moved in my favor, right? By 10 yards, 15 yards, something like that. And it was beautiful. So I just get the sense that the people behind the scenes at Prize Picks are a little bit more aware. I think the initial lines are going to be much more efficient. I'm not saying that we can't find anything there, but I get the sense that it's not going to be like last year where you could find like half the strikeout props would be off.
Well, that's a shame. Hopefully there's still enough edge out there, but yeah, that would kind of suck.
But if you could bet on legal sports books, I mean that. Have you run into scenarios where I mean, to me, it's the problem is getting the money down. Like how much are people getting down on? Like you do I'm assuming you're doing the covers.com show again, and you're doing stuff with obviously EV analytics. So you do some your betting content as well. So it'll be like early in the afternoon. You're like, this is what the bat says, and here's the 3 whatever thing. And then typically whatever you've said, I've already got like 12 hours ago. I mean, like a lot of times,
a slightly better number, yeah.
right at a bet at it. You have a number that's worth value at a sports book, and I got the better number at Prize Picks and Underdog that I need for a minus 137. So it's kind of weird for me to say when people ask, like, when people in your Discord, right, the Roto Grinders bat Discord, like start asking you about like, oh, are you gonna put your picks up? Are you gonna when's your video go up and stuff like that? It's like, dude, like you subscribe to the bat, like. Just just click on the statistical project. You could literally click on the standard projections screen, and I could guarantee you, I could tell you what Carty's going to say on the show like 8 hours in advance. So like why don't it's weird to say, why don't more people do that?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not doing any sort of wizardry. Like I'm using the version of DV Analytics because you can compare it to the sports books and everything, and it's great. But I'm looking at those screens. I'm saying, these are the ones that I think look the best. They have the most expected value, and those are the picks that I'm generally giving out. If I can find the best line, especially a line that's out of line with the rest of the market, like that's even better. Out of line with sharper books, that's even better. But I'm not doing anything special. I'm using the same projections as everyone else.
Right. Yet you'd still get people. I mean, we saw that during NFL season where people are like, okay, Carty on their wait. When does the Blitz prop show go up on Thursday or something like that? It's like, dude, I'm getting all my stuff down on Tuesdays. Like, what are you waiting for? And then like a lot of the stuff that you have up, it's like, oh yeah, Christian McCaffrey over 58.5 is a value. And I'm like, I got him at 51.5. So like, what are you people waiting for? Like it's it's so hard. It's like I've shown it on the show, on the DFS pregame. I've literally shown it. You know me. I've tried, like, this is literally what I do. And I go, here's this screen. Here's that column. Here's this column. Is that column bigger or smaller enough from that column? Yes. So bet on it. Like, dude, I could understand people that don't subscribe to the bat, right? And they're like, oh, I want to wait for Carty at 1 in the afternoon or something to tell me what value is based on the bat. It's like, okay, you can do that. But I mean, what is the bat? The bat, I mean, you're charging a lot, what, $3 a month for the bat? Or it's some absurd, it should be 3,000 a month, but I mean, what is it this year? Is it what, $2.99 for the season or something?
$3.99 for the season.
Okay, it's got, was it $3.99 last season?
Yeah, same price as last season. I think EV Analytics is $250 for the season. If you have the bat at Roto Grinders, you get a pretty big discount off of the EV one also if you want to do sports betting with it. Yeah, it's too cheap for how good it is. It really is. But that's where we're at with it. The shows are fun. The shows are a lot of fun. But you kind of hit on the challenge of those is that like you're trying to do a show at a specific time and the line has to be there at that specific time. And earlier in the day, the line was probably better. And so you're really kind of handicapping yourself a little bit by doing these. But even doing that, I put out a tweet a few days ago of my full record for the year doing baseball and football, all the different shows and everything. It's like a 25% ROI over the course of the season, over 100 units for baseball and football with those limitations of doing them on shows. Like there is a good amount of money to be made here.
Right. Last season in MLB, I had a 14% ROI.
Yeah,
on a decent amount of volume. I'm sure I'll take it. I mean, it's better than playing cash games in DFS. I mean, come on.
I mean, even the stock market over the course of several years, you're probably going to average like maybe 7% ROI. Like if you're beating that by a lot on props and you're realizing it quicker potentially, like it's really nice.
Right, and it's not hard. And the thing is it's not hard.
No.
It amazes me that the people don't get it. I mean, there's nothing that I think what people do wrong on Prize Picks and Underdog, because I see this in Chiefs prop shop at Roto Grinders, is that they don't understand. For instance, the highest now they have 6-pick flexes now. I haven't done the math on 6-pick flexes, but the highest EV card on Prize Picks is a 5-pick flex. And that's primarily because they give you 0.4x on hitting 3 of them. That's pretty much where if they didn't do that, if they gave you like 10x on getting all 5 right, 2x on getting 4 right, and nothing else, like it would be just as good as doing like a 5-pick on Underdog power for 20x. Right? Mm-hmm. It's that 0.4x that makes it, slightly more EV. But the thing is that when you're doing like 4 picks, 5 picks, 6 picks, it's like you're introducing variance into what you're choosing. So like if you have, I see 5, imagine. I mean, get rid of the 6 pick because I haven't done that yet. But like, let's say there's 5 good props available on Prize Picks that are minus 137s or better, right? Maybe it's a pitcher outs here. Maybe it's a pitch count. Maybe it's a strikeout. Maybe it's a, over, some total bases thing that's off or whatever it happens to be. That so many people like, they're like, okay, what do I do? It's like, those are these are the 4 that are plus EV. And they go, okay, I'm going to do a 4-pick of all 4 of them. Right? And then 3 out of the 4 come in and they lose. Right? They get 0. And then they go the next day. They find the best 4 and they put the best 4. Now, at the end of the season, they should be profitable. But the swings are going to be like, dude, you can get 3 out of 4 like a week straight. Right?
Yeah.
The difference is that when I'm doing 2 picks, which pay out a little bit less than doing 4 on Prize Picks, but the EV is about the same, is that on 3 out of 4, I make money, right? At 2 out of 4, I lose a little bit of money, right? But typically, I'm not doing 4s. I have 10, right? So people have like, there's these 10 things to choose from. I'm going to choose these 4 for this card. I'm going to choose these 3 for that card. I'm going to choose these 6 for that. Like, dude, why don't you just take number 1 and do $10 on 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 2, just all the way down and just now you have 10 cards of that prop with the nine other that you got. And then you go to number 2 and you go, I'm going to do 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5. And it's like now all of a sudden you have all the combinations of all 10. It takes you time to do it, obviously, because you got to do it manually. And now out of the 10, if you get 7 out of 10, that's a very good day, right? That's a very good day. 6 out of 10 is slightly profitable. 5 out of 10 is slightly lost. But most of the time, like I've had rare days where I put in 10 and only hit like 3, right? 2 or 3. A lot of times it's somewhere between 4 and 8 or something. The 8 out of 10 days are great, right? I rarely get a 10, but when they hit, great. That's even, I mean, it goes up exponentially. It just feels like people, even in the prop markets, are like introducing variants and they're trying to play a GPP when you should be playing it like it's a cash game.
Right. I was going to say, how much of that is kind of like that lottery ticket mentality where you do a 6-pick for $20 and you win whatever, 2,000. It says on your ticket, if you win 2,000, and that looks better than, just trying to, mix it up and just, eke out a smaller, more consistent edge. Like, especially when you see people posting on Twitter, oh, I hit this 6-pick last night and it's so great. And like, they're probably down overall. And I just wonder how much of that is just people like wanting to hit it big as opposed to wanting to really be profitable long term.
Well, I mean, they can, if they're all plus EV.
If they're all plus EV, yeah.
They can be profitable. It's just that your sample size has to be ginormous. It's the same thing as playing GPPs in DFS. So like you can play a plus EV lineup, one plus EV lineup in a 50,000 person GPP. As long as you have if you play for 74 lifetimes, I mean, you will be profitable. Unfortunately, you don't get 74 lifetimes. So it's like, do you want the EV that has your swings go up and down like this, or do you want the EV that you're more likely than not than just step up like this, right? It's going to be a slow. You're going to have a lot of nights where you put down $500 and you get back $580. You put down 500 in total props and you get back 360. You put down 500, you get back 840. You put down 500, you get back 462, right? Like you're never gonna have one where you put down 500 and you get back 20,000. Like that you're not gonna get that. You're essentially gonna at best triple your money. If you get all of them right, because that's how they pay out on Underdog and Prize Picks. If you put down 500 and get back a 1,500, that means you swept, right? So take your $1,000. I mean, but the likelihood of that happening is going to be once in a blue moon, rather than getting paid the $15,000 of hitting all 10 and like whatever a 10 pick would be. They don't even offer it. Like, dude, you may hit that once a year, right? Yeah. Like that, and you're going to go 9. You go 9 out of 10 all the other cards. And it's like you would have made more money just round robining. So to me, I mean, I know that you're not in the Chiefs prop shop in the RG Discord. You're in the bat channel, but I almost feel like I go in there and a lot of people are tilting, like, well, I'm using, like, people are using Chiefs picks, right? There's value there, and people, it seems like everyone else is winning, but I'm not winning. It's like, well, let me see your cards, and it's like, oh yeah, well, I had these 4 yesterday and these 5 yesterday. It's like, why don't you just do 2 picks and just like you would have. You would have won. You would be up money if you just round robined everything that there was, because you had a 3 and a 4 this day. You had a 4 and a 5 that day. You had a 2 out of 3 this day. Like you were above 50%. And when it's minus 137, if you could have a win rate over 57.5%, you win money.
Yep.
But that's what sports. But that's, I mean, if you're trying to actually be a profitable sports bettor, that's how you view things. It's like, well, I need to be 57% right, and I'm 62% right, and I have a 7.5% edge. I just want to put down as much money every day with a 7.5%. I mean, it's just do that rather than, how do I put down all this money and then win like $50,000 at once? Like that. But that's not what sports betting is. I mean.
No,
like that's not what
people want it to be, and that's like the sexy way to think about it. Like no one wants to be like, okay, well, this is a negative 130 line and it should actually be, negative 110. And so I'm gonna bet on, like, a lot of people aren't thinking about it that way, but that is how every single profitable, successful professional bettor is thinking about it.
Right. They're not thinking of like, okay, let me find 14 legs of a parlay to put together
Yeah.
for $10. How many $10 14-leg parlays can I put together? Let me try to hit one. And then you take a look at the 14-leg parlay and go, oh, wow, 58% hold. Way to go, dude. I don't know how you could be profitable with that, right? Like you do the computation and you go, you're realizing they're holding like 60% of the money in this. Like you can't win. You can't beat this. Like
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. And I think the prop markets are very similar to that. I think too many people view the prop markets as efficient when they're not as efficient at all.
No. No, prop markets are not very efficient. At least, I mean, we might come to a day where they become efficient, but they are not there yet.
Well, there's not enough liquidity for them to be that efficient.
Yeah.
Which makes them the most beatable. But the thing is that they're the most beatable for beer money. They're both beatable for side income.
Yeah.
Like unless you're someone that's very good at getting accounts and operating underneath the shadows and having a syndicate or whatever like that, I don't view prop betting as like, oh, this is the way I make $500,000 this year.
No, you're not doing that, but you can make 5 figures. You can make well into 5 figures.
You can make what? No. You could make. I mean,
you can probably make 6.
You could probably make 100. Yep. If you're aggressive and stay on the ball with stuff, yeah, I think you absolutely can. But low 5, like if you said if you said that you had a I would say reasonable, if you had a $10,000 bankroll just for this, I'd say most people, if you just used the bat and the blitz and the RGNBA projections, that's all you used for statistical projections. And then you did some top-down stuff, arbitraging lines that are just way, like we could get one side and end up getting a negative hold, right? You could find those types of situations. I don't see any reason why, with a $10,000 bankroll, that at the end of the year you'd have $30,000.
Yeah, I mean, there's no guarantees. It is betting, and you can't predict the future. But like, there is enough value where I would think that should at least be your expectation.
Right. But you would do it slowly. It wouldn't be like, oh, you make $10,000. It would be the type of thing where you're betting, you're putting down $20, $25 on 10 different things on a day. Right. And then you have to also factor in how much time you're spending on it. And I think with prop betting, you don't have to spend them. I think if you're the type of person that stays up late at night, hit stuff before you go to sleep, you wake up in the morning, you hit the stuff that's available then, and then you check in the afternoon and see if, some pitcher got scratched, something got changed. You're like, okay, there's value now here. Like, I think in a grand total of an hour, you could get down a couple of $1,000 at 5 to 10% edge. Yeah. As long as the books will still allow you to do so, you should be fine. I mean, I almost feel like that it's not clamped down on enough by books. And I'm saying this, it's weird for me to say this because tons of people complain about getting limited. I don't think it's clamped down enough at books because so many people bet are horrible. So just like I take a look at Prize Picks and go, like, why haven't they limited me yet? Why don't have like I have a certain limit. I can't like do more than 1,000 on a player or something like that. But like when I take a look at what the holds are, if you don't know what you're doing, like it's 40% hold. I mean, like it's just they get enough dumb people that if I wake up at 1 a.m. and hammer some strikeout props because the bat, it has it off, they'll use that to shape their lines. They'll take my $1,000 in action. And there's 1,700 lines out there that are awful. That people are going to just be using. Are just that we get volume and we get 20 to 40% of that. So whatever. Yeah. And that's what it is. Do you think the market is eventually going to get sharper?
I do. I think it's inevitable. Um, I don't think it's anytime soon. I hope not, at
I hope not.
least.
I
But
hope not.
yeah, but I think eventually, yeah, I think it'll get closer to that.
What would it take, Cardi, for you to sell the bat to a sports book?
Sell the whole system.
So, well, sell the whole. So they would make all of their baseball lines based on the bat. So all of
I
their
mean,
sides, totals, props, and like basically they said we want to use the bat to make our originate lines, and that the line is the line. If you use the bat, that's the line that you're going to see. Like how
we,
how
we
much how much would it take?
we'd be into seven, maybe eight figures. No, yeah, it'd be definitely over $1 million, maybe over 10.
What happens if I told you that they could do it for $400 a season?
Hopefully, they're not doing that. Hopefully, they're not watching.
All I'll say is that I think the market on Prize Picks is going to get it's going to get sharper. I don't know for sure, but I highly suspect it's quite possible first day of the season that I 1 a.m. for opening day that I look and I go, wow, it seems like all these lines are kind of exactly what's in the column in the bat statistical projections. It's kind of weird that didn't happen last season. I'm just saying I hope not.
I
But
hope not.
but I wouldn't be shocked if that is the case. If that is the case, okay, let's go into that scenario. If that's the case, then what happens? Then what do we do? What do we do? What do we do, Cardi?
Well, there are, smaller sites like Prize Picks. There's, probably 10. If you look in your state, there's probably 10 other sites like that won't be doing that. Or eventually there will be legal sports books in every state. Drive over the state line to the next state over that has legal sports betting, or there's options.
You know what you do? There'll be hella arbitrage opportunities.
Yeah, that's true.
Because what'll end up happening is that one site will steal the bat projections. I'm going to use the term steal. They'll know what it is, and another site won't. They'll copy from sports books. So they'll copy from DraftKings or FanDuel or probably an offshore, probably like copying from Pinnacle or something like that. Even though those prop market lines are not that efficient, even at Pinnacle. But you'll sit there plenty of times where the bat number is like a run off from the run and a half off. I mean, a full strikeout and a half or two strikeouts off the sports book numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have Prize Picks or whatever like that their number is the bat number. Like there are middle opportunity. I mean, you could find issuance. You could find issues where it's like the bat says X, but like there's a two strikeout difference between all these lines. It's like I could bet the over here and the under there, and if it comes in at 6 strikeouts, I win both. I mean,
Yeah.
there you go. I mean, you could start doing that type of. I mean, the market as a whole is never going to be that efficient. I mean, imagine Cardi that all the lines will look like that. Then we have a problem.
Yeah, that's true.
But you don't see the issue where, like, I asked you. I mean, I consider it a trick question. When I asked you, like, how much would you sell the bat to a sports book? And you said $10 million. And I said, what happens if I told you were giving to them for $400 a year? Like, isn't that what information is? Like, isn't that what information arbitrage is? Where let's say Cardi, you didn't have this publicly available, right? You just used it, just you. It's you and you only. You're the only ones with eyes on it. And you went out and bet, and you were some big, you were taking advantage of it for a ton of money. Like they just use your bets as a way to shape their lines.
Right.
Right. So I mean, like it's the same reason why at 1 a.m. on Prize Picks I can hammer a bunch of stuff and most of it moves, because it's like, well, a lot of people are using a source that's better than what Prize Picks has, I mean, that's
Yeah.
the way, adverse selection works.
Yeah. And
So,
that is what books do. I mean, they know who the sharp bettors are. They use those bets to move their lines and make them more efficient.
right. So is this another case why you should be charging more money then?
Well, I mean, there's lots of reasons why I should be charging more money. It's certainly worth it, but it's we get into it every year. We don't need to we don't need to beat a dead horse again. But yeah, I mean, the bet is worth way more than what I charge for it.
Well, maybe it's the selling point that I'm saying that sports books would be willing to pay a lot of money for this if it wasn't for the fact that Carty's giving it away for $400 a month. So
Yeah.
why don't you take advantage of it? For not $400 for the season, so it's $66 a month, which is stupidly low. It's just dumb. It's just dumb low. It's dumb low.
Yeah, I know it is.
How much money would you have made if you just charged the right price for it for the past 8 seasons?
I don't know. I mean,
You'd
it's
be
tough
living
to
in a
know.
castle. You'd be on a private island somewhere. But I think that's the best selling. I mean, to me, truthfully, it's the best selling point.
Yeah.
To say, I mean, you mentioned it before. People that buy it come to you and beg you to charge more. Like, I want to pay more for this.
Yeah.
You don't see that. You don't see me buying a TV from Best Buy and going, yeah, you should. I would have paid twice for this. Like, no. Most likely it's the other way. So where can people find the bat?
You can find the bat at RotoGrinders for DFS. You can find the bat at EV Analytics for sports betting. If you do season-long fantasy, it's at Fangraphs. It's free all year there. Season-long, in-season, rest of season projections. I'm on Twitter at Derek Carty, and I think that's it.
Right. Rotogrinders.com/the-bat.
Yes.
The in all. Why is the in all capitals?
It is.
That's the
That's
answer.
the way it's
Because
stylized. At the origin, it was a big acronym for something that was forced and weird. But I don't know. I felt like a lot of projection systems, that's the way they stylize it, and I thought it looks better that way. So that's what it is.
Because I noticed that most people call it, they go the and then bat in capitals.
Yeah,
it's like,
everyone
okay.
stylizes it differently. It never caught on where everyone realized, okay, it should just be all caps. But it is what it is.
Right. So it's technically it's the bat X.
Yeah.
Or the bat 10. It could be the bat 10.
X stood for experimental, but that's not the case.
It's not experimental anymore. It works. It's not.
It
It's out
works.
of beta.
Yeah.
When are you going to incorporate bat projections with Chat GPT? So I could go to Chat GPT and go, what are the plays today? It's going to come. It'll come to that you should be able to develop an AI Carty.
So I actually, with EV Analytics, we have actually developed a product. It's not for consumers, but a B2B product where it takes data points from the bat, from the blitz, and it creates narratives based off them. It creates, okay, if you want to know whether you should bet the over or the under on Garrett Cole's strikeouts today, it'll tell you, okay, he's in this park and this park does this, and he's with this umpire and this is the weather, and it does it. It's great. It's actually it's live at a few sites, over the last year. It's pretty awesome.
But I can't type in what are the picks.
It does no. Can't type in what are the picks.
What's the winning DFS lineup today? What's the top stack? I can't do that.
No, can't do that.
Can't do that. The bat doesn't care about that.
No.
The bat doesn't care about anything. The bat probably doesn't have much of a personality.
No, probably not. It's a machine, but it's pretty smart.
Okay, so you can follow Derek Carty on Twitter. Rotogrinders.com/thebat. Go get the same projections that I use. So, I mean, like, what other selling point can I make it? That baseball's coming up in 2 weeks. You're going to need projections for baseball. If you have some other projections that you're using, then that's better than nothing. But you know what's better than nothing? The bat. So go get the bat. And between the bat, Lineup HQ and Rotogrinders, and the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports, you should be able to win at DFS. So go pick that up. The 15-hour audio DFS Masterclass at theoryofdfs.com.